When was the last time you defined success? I remember when I started working with an embodiment mentor a few years ago, and I believe that she asked me this question towards the beginning. And I remember thinking about it. I don't know that I answered it because I really felt the opportunity to reflect. And I do believe I reflected, but I don't know that I actually ever came back and fully said to her. I think I did write her an email, but even right now, I'm not remembering what I actually shared. In this video, I want to explore this with you and the power of not just really defining it for yourself in some way that we think about success and goals, but really in the most basic, fundamental way of connecting with yourself. Because we are here, in the scheme of things, we are here for a blip. Our life does go by very fast. And we were born into a world with all of these constructs, all of these systems, and all of these ideas about what success is, about what a good life is, about what is hard work, about the requirements to get X, Y, Z. And I'm present to this and sharing this because I'm aware that I'm experiencing anxiety. And when I sat with this anxiety, I realized that it's attached to productivity. It's attached to an awareness of not getting enough done. And this is not a new idea for me. This is not something that I just discovered. But I would like to think that it isn't the thing that is still present for me, because really where it would get exacerbated and triggered is when I'm inside an organization in a role and I have, a list of things that I am responsible for or a team of people that I am leading. And in so many ways, that's where it really lived, is in my jobs. But I also remember that my mom was always moving and going. Like, she didn't have the same career trajectory and aspirations that I did, but my mom was always busy and getting stuff done. I remember the message that I heard as a kid was, get up, half the day's over. I remember becoming aware of that memory in part of my master's program, because I remember that feeling. I think I was a kid wanting to sleep in, and I heard that so many times, get up, half the day's over, that I really believe I created a life where I was always running, because I always felt like I was behind, because I always felt like I was late. I wasn't up when I should be. I wasn't doing what I should be by the time I should be. But my mother was also programmed by the way the world is. And what I'm inspired to share right now is this reality, is to have a point of connection of, like, if you're understanding this, if you're feeling this, you are not alone. And to share and break down a couple of holes and alternatives to this. But first, I want to talk a little bit more about how I understand this becomes to be. Because we are living in a world that over time, we had the Industrial Revolution, and now we're having another AI revolution. But we built a society that created an economy, and it went out of like basic trades, and it turned into, like, I remember learning a story recently that money, the physical money, was created because it was too cumbersome to be like trading animals and all the things that people would use as their form of currency. So we created these new forms of currency. But we're living in a world where there's an exchange. So we have to work. And then there are all kinds of constructs about roles. And then there was roles that women could have and roles that men have. And my point in sharing all that is that inadvertently and directly, we learn things that we're supposed to do. Like, we go to school K through 12. I remember my mom saying to me, look, you either go get a job or you go to college. It's your choice. And she didn't go to college. She wasn't educated, so she didn't feel comfortable imposing that on me, and she didn't have the funds to support me. And then there is this idea that a lot of it is around the nuclear family and getting married and having children, and all these standards exist. And we then base our life around that. But what never actually happens is first understanding how we become who we are, but then also honoring that to the degree that we ask ourselves and learn more about what is it that I actually care about? Like, what's my thing or things? Like, what lights me up? What am I naturally good at? Like this idea that everything has to be so hard, that we have to work hard to get everything. I cannot even believe how deeply embedded that is into my nervous system. Because when I come around on a Sunday and I feel like I haven't done enough, or I feel this anxiety, and when I sit with the anxiety, I'm just connected to, oh, there's things that I told myself I was going to do and I didn't finish them. And I'm like, holy shit, this is still happening, because it's just so deeply rooted. And what it's attached to that we didn't also consciously decide is to our value and our worth and our contribution. And I'm not throwing shade at all those. What I am, though, offering is the opportunity to poke a hole in it, to evaluate it, and to ask questions. Because I also think this world is made up of humans, but we swing the pendulum. We don't somehow ever want to hang out here. We either go here or we go here. And we've made all this stuff mean things. But then we evaluate ourselves against it. And almost always we come up short. Very rarely, because we're not taught that, very rarely are we championing ourselves. As a matter of fact, when somebody is proud of themselves, we call them arrogant or we call them conceited. And what is so ironic to me is that we don't need a planet full of people who don't feel like they're enough. That is literally a planet of people walking around half cocked because they don't feel good about themselves. They don't feel like they've done enough. People are not making that up in their own heads. That's the ethos of this physical plane. That is the outcome of constructs of society not changing, not being updated, and not acknowledging more all that we do know. We know so much more about the body, about the brain, about the heart, about our physiology, but we're not really applying that back on, okay, so what do we need to update in the world? Maybe people don't go to school K through 12. Maybe we don't send them right after college to make a decision when they're 18, 19, 20 years old about what they're going to do for the rest of their life. I mean, imagine that. I'm just present to this opportunity of questioning things, because having our worth and our value attached to productivity is making us sick. My experience of burnout and burnout culture is not as simple as I feel like we tend to see it and look at it. Yes, I think we're living in a very rapid pace world. Yes, technology, internet, and now AI is like all of that. Yes, yes, yes. And what I believe and what my experience of my research and the ways that I have just been studying human behavior and sociology and the psychosocial dynamic of environments, starting from the family and in relationships into organizations and all the dynamics of the roles that people play, is that we don't know who we are. We don't know our inner operating system. We don't know how we became who we are. We're not learning that we are meaning-making machines, and that what we believe is our truth is literally been absorbed. It's been inherited. Not many things that we believe are things that we actually consciously sat down and went, is that true for me? That feels like one of my beliefs. I mean, when was the last time you did that? And yet we're going through this whole education system to learn all of these subjects. Why isn't the human design? Why isn't how our physiology, our biology, our psychology, why isn't that part of our curriculum? If you are relating to this idea of like productivity and how you might metabolize it, I just want to encourage you. Like, I started this video talking about success because as I was sitting here reflecting and I was journaling on the anxiety and what I'm feeling in my body and this productivity, it quickly kind of moved in my mind and my brain, and I was thinking about this idea of success, of like, what does success look like? Like I've been building a business. It's been really challenging and learned and inspiring, and like it's been all of it. And I'm still not where I want to be. I'm actually nowhere near where I want to be. And I have dreams and intentions of creating an 8-figure business. I don't feel like my self-esteem is attached to it, but I'm sure, yes, the journey is going to impact my self-esteem. But my point in bringing that up is that how I believe we understand to arrive at a goal like that is like, you got to grind, you got to work hard, you got to like put in the time. And in many ways, I've been doing my version. As I learn, I implement, and I learn, I implement, evaluate, implement. And I have definitely been grinding. I don't think it's getting me the results that I believe are possible. And what came forward for me before I started recording this video was this awareness of like, oh, it's because my brain is so deeply programmed. My nervous system, my reflex is that that's the way to get there. And I know with every fiber of my being that that is actually not the only way to get there. That there are plenty of people that are creating amazing things in the world, and they're not doing it through grinding. Yes, many people are. And that is a dynamic that I know I'm not the only one, that has that programming, or that even maybe believes that that's the only way to do it. But I also know that that is not the only way to do it. And I think if there's one thing that's happening right now in this world that's been kind of blowing up, it feels like, and just this great exposure and all of these things that are happening that have been so devastating and very challenging to just face and metabolize and still function, is that we are breaking up all of these ideas and systems. And so I wanted to offer that. If you are in any way, shape, or form not feeling good or clear or okay with your life, I don't care what the reasons are, I invite you to take some time and investigate and reflect on what is success. What is success for me? Because whether we think this way or not, whether we're conscious of it or not, that's essentially what we're trying to do every day, is to exist in a way that creates the experience of, at the end of the day, that we're good, however you might describe it. And so there is that pursuit every day. And I'm not judging that. I do think that that's part of what's too much. And I also believe that we are here to move and to build and to create and to learn, for sure. The opportunity, however, is when you're not feeling good in your life, or you're just feeling like, however you might be relating to it, if you're not feeling content, fulfilled, looking at what is success for you can be a really powerful invitation and beginning of what you might want to shift and change and investigate and learn more, but what will help you have the next step be clear. Because a lot of what can create that stress is feeling like we're stuck in it. And often I would say, when you feel stuck, first of all, I see that as a good sign, because that means that you're actually paying attention. You're noticing that you're stuck. Lots of people are stuck and they're not noticing, and they're living entire lives that way. And they weren't taught, nor were they around people, nor were they, just wasn't part of their upbringing to have an awareness of being conscious of how you feel. And so much of us do not understand how to just be in our body. But if you're feeling stuck, usually it's because we've have these ideas that are very linear, because of some of the things I've already said that we're not taught. And sometimes just the beginning of an inquiry and trusting yourself to do that inquiry, to be in that inquiry, to get curious. Your life is your gift. Your life is like your golden ticket. Are you worthy of that inquiry? Absolutely. That is your work. And I'll just leave you with this, but like when I was journaling and I was writing about the success piece came up, and I started thinking and I was reflecting on all the work that I've done and how, like I mentioned in the beginning about being employed in organizations with teams, and how then I'm like, here's my job description that I need to go fulfill. And I'm a good soldier. I mean, I'm a leader, but I am a good soldier. Like, you don't got to motivate me. You don't got to check on me. I'm going to exceed your expectations and then some every single time. That's just somehow how I became who I am. And I think a lot of it had to do with proving and inferiority, and that's a whole other video. What I wanted to share though is that I got to this place of like looking at success, and I just started seeing all that, and I thought to myself, did that make me successful? Those ways of being. And one could say maybe, but when I actually define success, for me, it's having meaningful experiences and having meaningful relationships. That was not required for that. So, did I gain a lot of amazing experiences and relationships through all that work? Yes. But that was not a requirement. Grinding and all that. So, yeah. I took you on a little journey here. I appreciate you being with me. But I encourage you, if you have not defined success lately, now is your time. My name is Jennifer Herrera. I really hope you'll stay here with me. I'll see you tomorrow.